Well, hello, welcome to another Embrace Live episode. It's Wednesday, 8 o'clock, thereabouts, just 1 minute past after. And so, obviously that must mean Embrace Live. And I'm just looking over at my other monitor here, and thankfully John, our guest, has returned, who has just given me a bit of a heart attack thinking he's just going to do it for the comedy value, just a late entrance. He's laughing, but I'm not. No, it's all good. I'm pleased he's turned up. All right, so welcome. Just let me introduce myself. So, obviously Embrace Live, I'm part of Embrace Church in Darlington. My name is Dave Dixon, and I get the privilege of serving over there, being part of the team. Been there for a number of years now, which is great. And one of the important values that we talk about a lot, actually, is family. And I love it that we are all in God's family. That we're adopted into God's family. If we made that decision to follow Jesus, to know Jesus for ourselves, and you might be tuning in and you might have stumbled across this Embrace Live thing, wondering what it's all about, and maybe just hanging around for a little bit, and you don't do the church thing. Well, listen, we'd love to just talk to you a little bit more about that. If you're it'd be great just to, if you want to get in touch in any way, drop us a message. We'd love to talk more about that, and what does this churchy thing mean? What who's this Jesus, and how can you have a personal relationship with Jesus? All right, and so what does that mean? And so what we're trying to do in these Embrace Live episodes is we've done a number of them now. We're past 30, which is great because we're trying to do them each week. And what we try and do is actually just get people to tell their stories about actually what it means to them to have that personal relationship. Sorry, not just information, living a relationship, with God, with Jesus. And how does that, how's that transforming their life? How's that impacting their life? How are they living different? What difference is it making in their lives, really? I think we live in a society, don't we, without getting too deep about it, that actually, words are quite easily thrown around, but, actions, as the saying goes, speak louder than words. So, what does that mean to live it out? What does it mean to, have a relationship with Jesus, but actually, how can we show that? How can we demonstrate that in our homes, in our community, in our workplaces, wherever it may be? And I'm really pleased that tonight we've got a wonderful guest. John Searle is joining us, which is brilliant. I've known John for many years now. Saying that, actually, what I love about this is, I say quite often, I've known these people for many years, which is great. But actually, maybe just kind of bumped into them at churchy events and things like that, and when we're shopping. But actually, I love these from my point of view, that I get to spend a bit more time, without the stresses of being involved in a church service and things like that, and being involved, just to hear a little bit more about who they are and get to know them a little bit better. So, this is why I love doing it. It's great. But what we want in all of this is to hear actually what it means to have a personal relationship with Jesus, and the impact, and how does it change our lives. And it's, if you want to, please, you can always go back and kind of check out the previous episodes. They're all available on the Facebook page. So if you want to kind of head, obviously you found the place anyway, if you're kind of just thumbing through your news feed and this Embrace Church comes up and it's live now and you're just checking it out. Or, if you want to head over to our YouTube channel, because again, I post some on there. Listen, while we're mentioning YouTube, what would be really helpful, please, if you don't mind, is could you head over to YouTube and just search for Embrace Church Darlington, and then subscribe and, like and do the usual notification bell so the new kind of content that's kind of coming up on there. Because that's going to really help us to get to the point where we can have 100 subscribers. We're not there yet. And so then once you've got 100 subscribers, you can then change the name to, as you see on screen, Embrace Church Darlington, rather than just a long kind of strange numbering characters and things like that, which we've got to at the moment. All right. So please, please, please do us a favour, head over, go to YouTube, hit subscribe button, like the videos, and hit the notification bells and those kind of things. So I'll tell you what we'll do. I've talked a lot already. Let's just head over to John now and just say a quick hello. I'm just giving him a chance to heads up. He is there, thankfully. There we go. Hiya, John. How are you doing?
Hi, Dave. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. You did give me a bit of a bit of anxiety going on, thinking, right, has he just done me like a kipper here and walked off? Left his video cam going on. those kind of things. But I'm glad you turned up and everything like that. So, really appreciate you giving up your time tonight. And we're going to, enjoy just having a bit of a relaxed chat over, almost over a coffee and just see what was what. So, as always, if I just head back to to my camera just for a moment, and then we'll bring John in soon. As always, we want to, make this an interactive kind of experience. That's the beauty of doing this live. And if you join us live, great stuff. You're really welcome. And even if you're watching this on kind of the catch-up on demand when you're getting a chance to watch it, really appreciate that as well. If you can, though, it's even better experience if you're joining live, because I can see people like on my other monitor, I can see here, Sue's joined us again. Well, great, Sue. Thanks for joining us. I'm hoping, no doubt, Bill's, probably with you as well. Sue and Bill are a fantastic part of the Embrace Church family, and we're really, really blessed to kind of do the live thing with them. Even better, Richie Lee. No, actually, that's wrong for me to compare. I apologise, Sue and Bill. That's not a good start, is it? But I'm surprised. I'm a little bit taken back there. Even the mighty Richie Lee has joined us. Okay, and Sharon. Fantastic. Well done. Thanks for tuning in. It's great to have you with us. And, please, comment as we go through, share your questions for John as he kind of chats through. Listen, this guy is a really educated fellow. He's a really, he's highbrow. I can see, anybody who comes on, screen with like loads of books in the background is just kind of showing off his intellect. So we want to ask these questions, deep theology, life questions, as, difficult as possible for John to sort out. And that's going to teach him not to give me a bit of a heart attack by not turning up on time. All right, even though we were connected. That's all right. Great. Jill joined us. That's brilliant. Thank you. Listen, don't be shy. Post on the comments, and I can put them on screen a little bit later on as we kind of go through. So, let's welcome John in a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this leaders intro, and which is kind of part of the series of what we're doing in these Embrace Lives, as live streams as we go through, and leadership really is all about, actually, it's just influence. And we all lead other people. We all influence other people in different ways. Hopefully that's positive. It can be the opposite as well. But, I'm really excited about is actually, part of John's, story, particularly his role within Junction 42, is positively influencing people who have got, challenges, who've faced challenges, faced significant issues, problems in their lives. And again, John with Junction 42 is doing an amazing job to kind of help people in that situation as they come out. But I don't want to say too much about Junction 42, because really what I want to do is John to kind of tell us a bit more about that, and we'll even play the promo later on. So let me just play this intro, and then we're going to go straight to John. Here we go. And here we are. John, how are you doing? You okay?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I'd like to point out, Dave, that these are my wife's books behind me.
All right. So. I was just about to ask you if it's one of those kind of green screens, with obviously just the artificial background on there, but those are your wife's, books and things like that.
Lower the expectation levels a
little bit. Lower the expectation, I see. you seem to have slipped down the camera a little bit, actually. Are you just kind of in your relaxed position?
Right. Yeah, I'm quite relaxed.
Don't get too close. It's a bit intimidating. It's a bit scary. That's all right. I can move the camera around if we need to, but that's good. As long as you're comfortable, mate, that's great. All right. Yeah. So we've got other people joining us online. So hello, Paul, as well. Thanks for joining us. It's great. Now, obviously, what we've got underneath these two pictures, you can see of these wonderfully good-looking gentlemen. Okay. Is a blank space alongside the Embrace Live logo. Now, that blank space is deliberately there for your comments and questions as we go through. So please, like I say, let's be interactive. Thank you for joining us live. And like I say, if you can, set your reminders in your calendar for 8 o'clock each Wednesday, because I'm really pleased to say, and if we just jump across to this for a moment, I'll come back to you, John, sorry. But actually, if I show you this coming up screen here, that I'm really pleased to say that we have got guests lined up every week until the end of July. So, set your calendars, set your reminders, okay? And there's just some of the wonderful people who've agreed to come on, and you can see John in his wonderful beanie hat there, look, rocking that look as well, and his good lady wife, who's obviously the one who reads the books, and John just does the colouring in, I think, or whatever it may be, he does. There we go. All right. So, John, why don't you, it'd be good to hear you kind of who you are, first of all, a little bit of kind of background and things like that. If you want to tell us your credit card numbers and things like that, we'll all make a note of that. And no, we won't go too far with the details. But a little bit of who you are, put you into context for those of us who maybe who've not met you before. What do you do for a real job and all of that kind of stuff? Have we talked about Sarah and your wife and those kind of family and things like that. And then it would be good then to kind of hear your story, really, if that's all right. So. I tell you what, put yourself into context. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Name's John. I'm 40 years old.
Never.
I am 40. I know. What did you think, Dave? What did you think?
Well, I'm trying to look at you now and think. Actually, if he shaves his beard off, I think you look about 12. So that's maybe you should feature again, and I haven't done that yet. I thought you were about 35. I wouldn't have put you into the 40 brackets yet. So there we go.
Yeah, I've just joined, so last year. And became a Christian when I was about 20, when I was at university, and life changed pretty dramatically, really.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you tell us a bit more of that, kind of story stuff in a moment, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So you obviously you got family. You talked about your wife and
married, been married for just over 10 years. Got 2 boys, Joshy and Sam, 6 and 9. So,
keep you busy?
He keeps us very busy. Got a 5-month-old cockapoo called Jess, who keeps us even busier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you sound like you've got one of those, what can I say, accents. You don't sound as if you're around the kind of Teesside area. So where are you from?
County Durham.
County Durham.
Setchfield way, so yeah.
That's not too far away, actually. So, there we go. So, let's get the important stuff out of the way. Who's your team?
Newcastle.
Right, okay, that's the interview over with, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks very much for your time, John. Obviously, I was kind of aware of that, but you just confirmed that. So please disregard everything that this gentleman says, because obviously he has no taste in whatever in life. We'll let you off, all right? Because even Jesus loves Geordies and Mags and things like that. Anyway, okay. Why then? Why have you gone with the Mags when you're from Sedgefield way?
Well, in 1986, I did devote myself to Liverpool after they won the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
And then when I was 10, I realised I'm never going to go and see these. And then I had a couple of pals who supported Newcastle. The guy next door was a season ticket holder, right. So I used to go to a lot of reserve games with him.
Yeah.
So I put it down, Dave. It's really just a Jesus looking out for me.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone either way, really. And that's the sign. That's a sign of his affection. The ones he really loves.
Yeah. Well, already we want to make this interactive, and you can see Richie is taking the opportunity as well to.
Can I just point out Richie Lee is my brother-in-law?
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's probably God's judgment on me.
Yeah.
Something wrong.
Yeah. So I don't know whether Fat Man means anything to you. I don't know whether it's something you can share with us or whatever. But maybe if that's appropriate, we shall see. But maybe we'll come back to that one later on. Actually, let me just kind of add that to my favourites, and maybe we can get into it a little bit more later. But we'll see how we get on. So obviously, that's a bit of context. And thank you for telling us who you are and things like that. I mean, obviously, I've known your good lady wife for many years, and then kind of you came along and kind of met your church and things like that. Which church do you go to? Is it still parish church that you're at, or?
We are connected to the parish. We're in a bit of a we feel God's kind of pulled us out for a season at the moment.
Yeah.
but we're still connected there. So.
Yeah, I mean, God obviously works in seasons, doesn't he? You know, and again, so, you know, I often say, in fact, I make a point of saying it in every episode, and I'm surprised I haven't said it already. Really, there's just one church, isn't there? And like you say, and that's with a capital C. That's God's church, and you know, His bride. And you know, there's lots of different flavours that we often talk about, and you know, Stockton Parish Church is such a wonderful church. I've got loads of people there I know well. Mark Miller's actually the vicar, and he's featured in one of the shows previously alongside good friends like Steve Whitehouse and so on, Jason and Julia Powell, and many others. You know, and you know, obviously you spent time worshipping there as a family as well. So a really amazing church. But you know, again, seasons. You know, God moves us around, shuffles the pack a little bit, and you know, it's good. You know, obviously we need to continuously seek God, don't we? So, you know, it led me and my wife and my kids, and you know, led us to Embrace Church in Darlington a number of years ago, really. So, you know, it was just one of those things. I was quite happy actually at parish church, but you know, you've got to be obedient, haven't you? Really, you know, this is God after all, isn't it? And He has plans to prosper us and all of those kind of things. So, all right, so you can take this kind of season out there. So, you know, you started to mention that that you became a Christian. Was it when you were 20, did you say?
About that, yeah.
So I'll tell you what I do is, you know, I just often just kind of ask the question, you know, those kind of three questions, right? What was life like before then for you? You know, what were the circumstances around leading up to that, you know, point with about 20 when you made that decision to commit your life to Jesus, to follow Him? And then, you know, what is life like, you know, been like since then, you know? And I think we've established, for doing this a number of times now with many different people, and you might be the exception, I just do not know. But that life isn't all sweet and roses and perfect and easy after you become a Christian. You know, that is, you know, just want to shatter that illusion quite, you know, straight away. So why don't you just kind of give us a bit of a, you know, overview of your story? Tell us your story, you know, like you say, starting with what was life like before, and then what led you to that point, really.
Yeah, I was quite a normal lad really before, like going out for a drink, just you know, like the football, and never. I think it's fair to say I was not very confident at all. When I was drunk, I was very confident, but generally in life, my number one fear was public speaking. Just hated. You know, this would have been a nightmare, and just didn't have a lot of confidence. I think when I was about 18, I really struggled to even speak to people in the street at times. And then when I was at university, I lived with six lads, and there was this one guy called Owen, and he kind of he was pals with some of the guys I lived with, and he would come out with us sometimes. On like nights out, and he was a Christian, and I would just we would just talk for hours and hours, and I would give him a really hard time about kids in Africa, and all of those types of questions that we need to ask, you know. And then he gave me a Bible, took me to church, let me take it in my own time, and probably a year, 18 months down the line, was a point where I thought, he's real. So for me, there was never that kind of moment in time where, you know, all of a sudden God becomes real. And I never had that. I had lots of moments.
Right.
But by my personality I'm quite a cautious person. I take things slowly. So it took about 18 months for me to the point where I had that many experiences of God, and that I couldn't deny His existence anymore.
Well, let me just kind of jump in with a couple of questions then. You know, so Owen, thank you, Owen. Whoever you know, obviously, I don't know you, Owen, but we just want to thank you because obviously, thank you for your faithfulness, because it's, you know, and kind of. Thank you for being grilled by John, you know, and willing to kind of have those conversations and stuff like that. And I think, you know, asking questions is good. And I think you're right, you know, those kind of questions, you know, we should be asking, you know, why is there, you know, cruelty? Why is there hunger? Why is there, you know, these real issues in the world that we just can't deny? And you know, where's God in this? You know, and again, those are really valid questions, and
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
opportunity, to kind of chat with somebody who knows Jesus, and to be honest, even if you know Jesus, you don't know all the answers. That's the thing, isn't it? We've got to be realistic about this. And so, thank you, Owen, for not hitting you over the head with the Bible, the Bible bashers as they are, they can be, but kind of giving you the a Bible and the Word of God, and there's not, like you said you're quite cautious, and it was a kind of process. It wasn't a kind
Yeah,
of miraculous overnight kind of thing. Now that can happen for some people, but like you say,
absolutely.
yeah, it was over a process kind of thing. So I really, I just want to thank Owen, obviously, and it's interesting to hear that part of your story. Yeah, so. He took you to church. What was that like? Have you had much to do with churches previously, or did you just kind of go out the blue? What
Well,
were you expecting? What was it
yeah,
like?
I mean, I had a little bit to do with church in that when I was a kid, my mum made me go to church, in a Church of England church.
Yeah.
They weren't Christians at the time. They became Christians a couple of years after I did,
Right.
but they weren't Christians. But for whatever reason, my mum wanted me to go to church. Actually, she used to drop me off and then go home. They didn't go in.
They didn't go in, right?
So
Yeah.
drop me off at Sunday school
Yeah.
and then go home again. So it might have just been free childcare, but
Yeah.
but then when I got to like 11 or 12, I was like, Mom, this is not for me. So I'd had some experience. And then when Owen started taking me to church, he took me to different churches. I remember there was one time he took me to a church, and it was in a school hall, which freaked me out to start with, because I thought, why would you meet in a school hall? And then they had a big cross there, and that freaked me out even more.
Wow.
And then it was quite a lively church, which really freaked me out. So I turned around to it. So at some point they were worshiping. One person was on a chair with their hands in the air,
Right.
and I turned around and I said to him, "These are all mad heads in here."
Yeah.
And I turned around to him, and he's got his hands in the air worshiping, and I said, "And you're a mad head." But he was very gracious to me. He was very kind and gracious, and so he took me to different types of churches, really.
Yeah.
Which was good. So
was that just trying, obviously trying to find a flavour, as to describe it, where you would feel, comfortable with to begin with, and that side of things?
I think so, and I think he just wanted me to kind of experience a lot of the different expressions of church as well.
Yeah.
And you get different opportunities to get prayed for by different people, and
Yeah.
or hear different people's stories, and So, and I think he'd had quite a few different links into different churches. So, that was good, really. That was good.
Yeah. So did you land on a particular church then that you thought?
I think we went to a Methodist church for a while, and then there's a few different ones, really.
Yeah.
But then I ended up coming home after that. I came back up to North East. So
yeah. So what? So that was at university. Where were you studying? Just
Worcester.
Worcester. What were you studying out of interest?
Sports studies.
Right. Okay. And then you obviously came back to the mighty North East, and then you kind of settling and stuff like that. So what happened then? When you kind of came back, were you looking for work?
Well,
or what those kind of things? Were you still doing the church thing, or?
Yeah, what had happened was Owen had asked me to go along to Soul Survivor.
Oh yeah.
For those who don't know, it's a big sort of Christian youth event, and he said to me, he said, "Oh, would you come and just help with the kids from my church back home?" So I think that was his way of asking me to come and experience God for a week.
Yeah.
So then I did, and then when we were there, I got chatting to this girl who we worked for this organisation called Pairs. It was kind of like Pairs is great, kind of a cheap man's Youth for Christ.
Right.
So then
is that their slogan? Is that their tagline?
I don't think it is. They probably wouldn't be very happy with me saying that.
No. So you're not in the marketing department then.
So then and then all of a sudden, I just really felt like God was saying, go and have a year out,
right,
and become a youth worker, which I had no ambition to do whatsoever. and and so I ended up moving down to Wales for a year, and that was straight after uni, and then. That was really, I was part of two churches and we worked in schools. I mean, I knew nothing really about the Bible still. I was very, very immature. Why they took me on, I don't, I don't know. But that was really my sort of foundational discipleship year, really, because I lived with a couple of church elders and
Right.
yeah.
What do you mean by that then? Really... John, what do you mean by church elders? Just for those who maybe don't do the churchy thing, what do we, does that just mean elderly people in the church, or?
Well, there were elderly people, but elder really is part of it's a leadership responsibility. So
yeah,
so I live with a couple of the church elders from the church that I was based in North Wales.
Yeah,
and they were amazing. They just kind of asked questions all the time. They prayed for me a lot. And yeah, so that was amazing for me. That,
yeah.
And then after that, at the time I was thinking, I'm amazing. I'm giving God a whole year of my life, and then after this year, I'll just crack on again with what I was doing. And then at some point, it kind of dawned, no, you've given your life to Jesus. He's kind of in charge.
Yeah.
So then at the end of the year, I felt like they'd asked me to come back up to Stockton, or come to Stockton, and set up like a sports team in schools up here.
Who's they at this point? Who?
Peers.
Right. Okay.
And so I just felt like God was saying, "That's go and do it. That's the thing," and I've been here ever since. So I did that for a year. Yeah, so I think that's the question you asked.
What kind of things? What kind of things were you doing then when you came back up to Stockton? Then did you say what?
So we're working in the schools, primary schools, secondary schools, doing sports clubs, doing assemblies, doing faith stuff, and I was based in a church here, so we're doing a lot of youth work, with sort of estate kids in Stockton as well. So
how did you find the kind of school work then? Because obviously. It was easy to get into schools because obviously schools can be quite guarded. Working in education myself and stuff like that, and was it you're allowed to do this and this, and you can mention this heavily kind of regulated then, or we've quite free to do whatever? Or
no, yeah, we were quite free, Dave. Really, I mean, we at the time there wasn't a lot of stuff going on in schools, and so maybe they didn't know what was coming. But yeah, there were. Schools were quite open to us, really, and were happy for us to do faith-based stuff in assemblies and after-school clubs.
Yeah.
We did some RE stuff in a lot of schools, and yeah. So no, I always found that they were very open, as long as you didn't go over the boundaries that they had set for you, and you're respectful. And I always felt that the schools in the area were quite receptive to us.
That's great, great. What about kids? At the time, what was it like chatting with them? Did they have loads of questions? Was there any kind of
I loved it. I loved it. We Sarah and I, my wife, I met Sarah when I was based in her church. She was a youth worker, and when we worked the local estate, we worked with the kids there a lot. And I loved that. They were just really naughty, raw, but fun kids, and really open often to Jesus. For about 8 years we would take them to Soul Survivor, and they were the first couple of years they were known as the naughty kids. Apparently, Mike Pilabacci would have meetings about the Stockton naughty kids, but they were so gracious to us. They were absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I just loved seeing them encounter Jesus, and it was great.
Yeah, I mean, Soul Survivor, obviously, and like many festivals, and Soul Survivor is well, we talked about seasons, didn't we? Right, earlier on, Soul Survivor's come to the end of its season, and other things have been birthed out of that. But we're so thankful for those kind of events, like Soul Survivor, and many other nationally local events as well. Going back in the history books, often people will mention about Harvest, which is an event that's happened in the northeast for for many years, and that's had its season. And then obviously we've got the wonderful Kairos event that happens in Bank Holiday locally as well, Northallerton, and then obviously you might have seen the publicity about the Cedarwood event as well. That's kind of coming in July time as well. So these events are really, really special time. Having been involved with them, having attended as a young person, that was a long time ago. And then obviously being involved in them as well. These are really kind of special occasions, really, when you can get away from the normality, and particularly for these kids, like you say, the naughty kids from Stockton. The challenges that they were facing on a daily basis. To encounter God, amazing, and it's not easy. Obviously. Demanding for yourselves and to monitor them. And, if Mike Pilavachi, the leader of Soul Survivor, and his team were having meetings about the naughty kids, then, that was obviously challenging for you as well. We said we wanted to make this interactive, so I've just put this question on here from Alan. It says, what was the most difficult question a child in school or someone in youth group has ever asked you? The most challenging one?
Question, Alan. Good question.
Alan's great at questions. Alan is the senior pastor of Embrace Church, so he loves a good question.
Does he? Yeah. I remember one kid asking me in a playground once. I can't remember how he phrased it, but he was basically saying that his impression was obviously that when you became a Christian, you stopped sinning and doing anything wrong.
Right.
So I think he maybe asked me, when was the last time you sinned? Something like that. He was about 7.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. What was your answer?
This morning.
Yeah.
But that's what I loved about youth work, is because they don't care.
Yeah.
They just ask you what they think, particularly the naughty kids. And I think often well brought up kids have got more of a sort of an understanding, social understanding of maybe I shouldn't ask this, I shouldn't ask that. The more raw kids, they'll just ask whatever's in the head,
Yeah.
But I love that, and you get so many great conversations and so many opportunities to pray with people, and
I love it as well, because obviously I love those kids with no filter, like you say, just come straight out with it, just ask you directly. Alan is relating to that as well. He thought this is a great question. When was the last time you sinned? That kind of thing. If only it was like that. There we go.
Plus, I lied to the kid and said, last time I wasn't a Christian.
So obviously you mentioned the wonderful Sarah. Which church was it? Was she a worker in? Was it?
That was Stockton Baptist Church. Was the tabernacle at the time.
Yeah.
So
then obviously love blossomed and things like that. That's special for you. Obviously you need to pick your words carefully at this point and agree very sincerely that's
Well, I do, because apparently Sharon Lee's watching, and that's Sarah's sister, so I'll pick my words very carefully.
Very carefully. And of course, this is, like you say, this has been recorded and will be posted online. So we need to, obviously tread carefully, shall we say? So it's great. So what I want us to get into at this point then. So obviously you're doing lots of youth work. You kind of finished university, headed off. You just with your wonderful Owen, who's encouraged you that way, and headed down to Soul Survivor. You felt God saying, "Let's do a year out," and gone to Wales. I guess somebody had led you there. You just didn't randomly pick Wales to go to, but spent time with some wonderful elders in the church who really supported you and mentored you by the sounds of things, and lots of questions and prayer for you and stuff like that. And then I can't remember the name of the organisation. All I can remember is the Poor Man's YFC.
It's going to stay.
It is.
The Page Project. Wonderful organisation, Dave.
Yeah, wonderful organisation. Keep digging and trying to recover, yeah. And so, obviously then, you got involved with them and, came up to the mighty Stockton-on-Tees and got involved in youth work and so on in churches and met Sarah and so on like that. So what age were you about this time then, like you say, when you got to Soul Survivor with the...
23, around that age.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from then, though, obviously, what happened then? Where did you kind of go to next?
So then I continued with Piers for a year. We set up a sports team here, and then I felt like God wanted me to lay that down and pass that over. And then I felt like John Burns was John Burns.
Yeah.
He was a Christian leader in the Northeast at the time, and he was kind of loosely mentoring me. He had a word for me, and he said, "I think you should just take 40 days out." So I did do that. I went off for over 6 weeks, and just took my Bible, bought a car for 150 quid, which Quick Fit couldn't get working. They're working it for an hour, and then the guy pulled me in. I remember, and he said, I can't get this. Look, I've been working this for an hour. And I said, Holy Spirit, please just fix this car. And then immediately, he just whatever was too tight, he couldn't get. And anyway, I bought this car for 150 quid. Got a tent and went down to Wales and spent 3.5 weeks in Snowdonia, just kind of walking around praying and with my Bible.
Right. Yeah.
And then a few other spots, and then felt as though that season should continue for a little while longer. So I spent about a year in total, just me and my Bible, just worshiping, praying, and until I felt like God told me to stop being a bum and get a job.
That's interesting. Like you say, we mentioned seasons a few times now, but obviously you clearly wanting to, and a guy who's been, living out his faith and being guided. But you mentioned it a few times that you felt like God saying this and that. How does that happen? For those of us maybe who are not quite, sure about hearing from God. I know it's not a formula. It's not kind of a certain way. God's not like that. We can't put God in a box and say this is A and B equals C kind of stuff always. But how was God speaking to you and personally then? Like you say, to motivate you to go and spend a year in Wales, walk around, again, how were you managing practically in all of that? How were you convinced that God was telling you to do this?
Yeah. I think Dave, the more important question is not how, it's how do you hear God? It's because I don't think the hearing is always the how you hear is almost the most important thing. I think if you seek God and if you seek His voice and you say, God, I want you to speak to me. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your direction. I want to know what you want for my life.
Yeah.
God finds a way to speak to you.
Yeah.
Whether that's through, somebody. So one day somebody texts me a verse, and somebody else texts me this exact same verse from a different part of the country that never met me before.
Yeah.
Whether it's something like that, where you get prophesied over from outside, or whether it's something jumps out at you in the scriptures, whether it's you just get a sense of something or a picture of something when you're praying.
Yeah.
And then go away and ask God to confirm it to you, and then he speaks to a different avenue. I think the most important thing is to have that desire in you to go out and seek his voice. I think that's really, really important. I think there's seasons in my life where I've kind of heard God more. Has been the seasons where I've really sort of sought after His voice and sought Him. It's not like God's there. He's in me. He's always in me. He's forever faithful to me. I live in Psalm 23. Do you know what I mean? He's always faithful to me. He's always He's always wanting relationship with me. He died for that. But there's just something about the importance of seeking Him.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Great. Like you said, I just put on there that Alan totally loves that as well. Like, obviously what you're saying, that these comments would be hungry to hear from him. And again, God is there. He wants to speak to you. He wants to engage with us. Absolutely. It's a relationship, isn't it? It's not a one-sided thing. Like you say, we. God's. We're desperate to hear from God. God's desperate to talk with us and stuff. So, obviously, you had this then, year-long kind of season of seeking God, and then God's quite clearly spoke to you and said, "Go and get a job, you bum," that kind of stuff. And
I'm not sure if he used those words. It's
all right, okay, it's all right. Well, you never know. Where do you go to next then? What happened now? That's interesting.
I just felt like God said, right, season's over. It's important to work. Go and get a job.
Yeah.
So I just got any job. I just did some agency work for about a year or so. I think it's about a year or so. And then after that, I felt like He'd led me to a homeless hostel in Stockton, and I was there for the next 14 years. So
what were you doing there?
So, playing pool, watching Match of the Day. It was basically just it's a 21-bed hostel in Stockton, male only. And yeah, so the idea is that it's just guys come in homeless. The idea is that you support them, help them to move on. Ultimately, mostly working with drug addicts, alcoholics, but not always. So that was there.
So that, I mean, that probably, you know, obviously leads us then into, I know you may well, we've kind of jumped a lot probably in gap wise, but I'm just conscious of the time that, you know, it kind of leads us into, you know, obviously you work then with Junction 42. I think what I want to do at this moment is just to highlight the work of Junction 42. I thought I'd play their promo video that's available, and then maybe we can come back and then you can tell us about your work and your role and the impact that that's having and so on. So let's play that promo. Here we go.
Junction 42 is a charity that works in prisons and in the community. The main aim of what we do is to get alongside people, equip them, empower them, and give them the skills that they need.
I've had a few struggles since I've been out, and I've always been there to support it, you know what I mean? Even though I haven't been altogether there, they still never like abandoned and thought, yeah, we'll give up on that.
It's opened lots of doors for me, and been a very positive, calming sort of influence.
We're always there for them, we're always helping them, always trying to get them jobs, stability, and look towards the future with God.
Like we're a grassroots organisation that's very much part of listening to the people that we work with and being flexible according to the need at the time. For instance, whenever we set up Chapter 1 at Cafe in Elgin Square, it was very much in response to, at that time, there had been a lot of people with employment needs and an opportunity came up, so we were able to work with people in doing it. Our faith is what not just motivates us, but the models and everything that we do is very motivated by providing community, providing support, and providing belief in people.
I was very comfortable in my faith, and going into prisons, just doing life with the boys and stuff, it's really stretched me, it's really grown me.
I know that Junction 42 is my home, and even if I've gone through hard times, I wouldn't always come here.
I really feel like I play a role now in helping other people's lives because my life has been helped.
I knew they were going to be there no matter what, and now they just feel like family. That's absolutely great.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, obviously that just gives a flavour of what Junction 42 is all about, really. And I love some of the things that were being said in there. I mean, first of all, I love the kind of the banner, the taglines that, you know, loving people, removing barriers and bringing hope, and you know, that's amazing. And then to hear people, you know, obviously who have been supported by, you know, and impacted by, you know, Junction 42, you know, talking about them as family and things like that, and that's clear that, you know, you're a kind of guy, really. You know, you're obviously doing this in the hostel, and you know, obviously, you know, this, you're kind of living out your faith in action, getting alongside people, supporting people, whether that be through skills work that you did, or that year out in Wales, you know, doing the youth work there, or whatever, coming up into Stockton-on-Tees again with, you know, with the sports team and the naughty kids and whatever, you know, getting alongside people. Obviously that's clearly comes across as something that makes you tick, and you're really passionate about. You know, is that fair to say then, John? You know.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Apostle Paul said, I think his mandate for life was really just to love God and love people.
Yeah,
and I think you can't really ever look much past that. Really, you don't ever graduate from that, do you?
Yeah.
I think that's just what we're called to do. We're called to love Him, know Him, and then spread the fragrance of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with Junction 42 then? How did that happen?
Well, Sarah, my wife, has been working for them for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they basically just said there was a job available there. Said, we'd like you to apply for it. I said, oh, thanks very much. And then I just didn't really think anything more of it, to be honest with you. I always said I'd be in the hostel until I felt God was leading me out. But then I prayed about it, and the more I prayed about it, the more it just really settled in me. And then I felt like God was calling me away. So so that's how I started there.
Yeah, brilliant. So, obviously, the Junction 42 do a great work, and obviously you're part of that. I mean, they think highly of you. I noticed on when we, obviously I do the kind of advertising on social media. Now, it's probably at this point it's worth saying that you won't have seen that because you don't do social media. So, you're the difficult guy to kind of do the background on, and obviously I'm trying my best to kind of.
Can't be bothered, Dave. I just can't be bothered.
What kind of attitude's that? No, I totally understand. But you won't have seen then that actually when I was doing the kind of promotion for the show tonight, as I always do, just saying, this week's guest is, and I kind of tagged Junction 42 in it, and there was a nice glowing, kind of statement of "We love John Searle," kind of from Junction 42. So, obviously you're doing the right thing. You're making you're obviously well liked, which is good. They haven't found you out yet.
I've only been there for 8 months, Dave. They don't know me yet, really.
All right. Well, hopefully you can be a bit longer until obviously the truth comes out. No. I'm sure that's not the case. So tell us a little bit about what actually your role in Junction 42 is. What does that look like, or from a day-to-day kind of point of view? What do you do?
So I'm part of the community-based team in Teesside. So we cover we basically support people coming out of prison. Up in County Durham, across Teesside, over towards sort of Gisborne, Saltburn way. Right. Most of the people would be in the Tees Valley area. And I'm also going to be going into prison a little bit as well. Maybe do some alphas and just to kind of be a link, really. But most of what I do is I work with the men who come out. So they'll come out often. They've got no ID. They've got nowhere to live. They're very ill-equipped for life outside, and it's hard enough as it is. Yeah. If you've done a long sentence, to then come out of jail and be expected just to crack on with life, that's often why there's such a high rate of reoffending and people going back inside. So our job really is just to kind of put that support around them and help them to move on. So we've got we get a lot of referrals from the DWP, so we work quite closely with them, with job coaches, and try and help the guys onto training courses, into work. Yeah. But also really just to kind of be around there for them as well. And one thing I really enjoyed about Junction 42 and appreciated is they've got while they work with DWP, they've got they're quite a professional organisation. They haven't shied away from encouraging everyone to preach the gospel. I think a lot of Christian charities, they start off and it's all about the gospel, it's all about sharing Jesus, and then over time, and I understand why, over time, you're going for pockets of funding, you can't preach the gospel, your employees change, you get bigger, it just becomes harder and more limiting. One thing that they seem to have been really good at is keeping the main thing the main thing. And brilliant, so I've really enjoyed that. So I'm absolutely free to talk to people with Jesus appropriately. And what we've got is wherever there's a community team in the Northeast, they've also got a local Connect community. So obviously about these days because you lead worship in the Stockton one. Yeah. Very often. So
tell us about Connect then. What are Connects?
Yeah. So Connects are they are essentially Christian communities set up. Wherever there's a community Junction 42 team, you'll have a partner in Connect their community. So basically, they'll meet on probably on an evening. There'll be some worship. There'll be probably a meal.
Yeah.
Someone will probably share a testimony. There'll maybe be a short sermon, opportunity for prayer ministry. It's just really it's there. It exists really just to tell people about Jesus and to draw people into the kingdom.
Yeah.
So the guy who sets them up and runs them, doesn't run them all. They all have individual leadership teams. But the guy who oversees them is a guy called John O'Connor, and he is the husband of Joanne O'Connor, who's the director of Junction 42.
Yeah.
So he had a terrible life. You'll probably know his story where he witnessed his father murdering his mother.
Yeah.
I think when he was about 11, and he just had a terrible life. He heroin addict, crack addict, alcoholic, everything else, addicted to tablets. Became a Christian in a jail cell when he was 24 and completely changed his life.
Yeah.
And now he runs these Connect communities.
Oh, I'm really pleased that actually it took me a while because he's a busy fellow like many of us, but I eventually nailed him down to a date. So he is going to come on here and tell his story and talk a bit more about that, John. So which is really powerful testimony.
It's a crazy story, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, I'll look forward to that. And like you say, set your reminders. 8 o'clock each Wednesday. Like we said, we've got every guest right through till July, and I'm going into August now and stuff. So it's really exciting. But John's certainly going to feature on there. But certainly in the past, we've had Pete Conroy, who's featured in the show and who's definitely involved, obviously, in Stockton Connect. And Tony Granger's got a date again. The original date we had to move, but he's going to come on as well. Who Middlesbrough Connect and many others as well. Obviously, Brian and Stella Jones has been on as well, which is the Moses Project, which is where Stockton Connect is held. And I know that actually just this week, hasn't it? That there's been a Connect launched in Gateshead as well. So.
I'm not sure when, but there's one in Newcastle, Durham, Gateshead.
So again, that's on social media, John. That's just been launched this week. So that's where normal people get their news from and stuff.
On WhatsApp, Dave. That's enough for me.
WhatsApp. All right. Okay then. All right. So. And interesting enough on that video, I noticed on the Junction 42, there's a wonderful guy called Peter Grant as well. Do you know Peter? Peter Grant?
Yeah.
He's a top guy. I've known him for many years as well. It might be good to get him on the show as well, actually, see if I can track him down to a date and stuff. Known his son for a while as well, Sean, and things like that. Anyway, so wonderful people certainly involved in that as well. Listen, it'd be worth saying at this point, how can people support Junction 42 and obviously I can flick across and put their contact details on, which we're on there, but how can we kind of support in different ways? What does that look like? What can we do to help? And then it would be really fantastic to hear of maybe an experience, a story of an individual who's really been impacted by obviously that wonderful work that you're doing as part of the organisation and by Jesus, like you say, keeping the main thing you said, which is absolutely amazing. And how have you seen lives changed, a life in particular? Maybe it's always good to do that. So first of all, let me just put the contact details on, John. There, obviously of Junction 42, we've kind of focused on that rather than your own personal details. But how can people find out more? How can people support? In what ways can they do that?
Prayer is obviously a massive one, Dave, because I think for me, I'm going off on a tangent here, but for me, I was reminded of this again recently, that a lot of the guys that we work with and the women, particularly people who've got issues with drugs and alcohol addiction, you're kind of working with people who God sets out two avenues for you. You can have your own way, or you can choose life and freedom. And I know the last 3 weeks, two of the guys from the drug community in Stockton have died. Guys that I worked with in the past. Actually, one was from Connect, and I'd just been saying to him on the Thursday night, you're not long for this world unless you make some changes. And there's been loads of guys over the years I work with like that day where you have those conversations and then they're gone, you know.
Wow.
And so I think prayer is the biggest thing. You know, pray that the people who are working with these guys and girls, that they have the grace and the love, and they have opportunities to share Jesus, opportunities to pray with people, and that God would draw them and really shower His affection on them. So prayers for me will be the bigger one. Financially, obviously, financially, you know, finances are a big thing as well. So there's plenty of opportunities to give. You can give to employees personally as part of their wage, or you can give to the organisation. So those would be the two big things, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll put the contact details on again, you know, in a few moments. But you know, it's well worth obviously just keeping yourself up to date. You know, we obviously saw a bit of a snippet in the promo video about the amazing work. We've heard it from you. We know that there's quality people in there. The whole ethos of the organisation is to, you know, practically support those who maybe have come out from prison, you know, got lots of, you know, kind of facing real issues in life. But like you said, keeping the main thing, and practically demonstrating the love of Jesus, and taking the opportunity to you know, share the love of Jesus with them, tell them about that, and you know, hopefully we'll see that, you know, and it's amazing. And honestly, I say this, you know, really genuinely, you know, to be in, I love Stockton Connect. I just love the opportunity to be a small part of that, and just to get to know, you know, those that are attending and things like that, and you know, serving in some ways, doing the music and stuff. But they are, honestly, they're events that, or times when I really look forward to every time. You know, it's a real opportunity, and I know that, you know, I speak for Liz and Mike Connolly, who are good friends of mine, who often are with me and you know, faithful in doing that as well. And we all feel the same way, you know, because it's great to get to know and hear the stories of people who are facing real difficulties, but coming to know Jesus for themselves, and you know, working out that life thing, you know, that transformation. Like I say, it's a process, isn't it? And some people like John, you mentioned there, well, you know, we heard a bit of his story, you reflected that, and I look forward to that session where he had a miraculous overnight kind of transformational moment, God moment, you know, and that is totally, we know that's totally possible. But for, you know, for other people, like you said, who it maybe was an 18-month kind of process, or, you know, those kind of, it wasn't a big flash in the sky or those kind of thing, but or whatever, but it can be. But it's different for everybody. Like you said, I made the point, we don't want to put God in a box, and he doesn't always follow the formula. Why? Because he's God, isn't he? We can't limit him by our earthly kind of, you know, understanding and things like that. Yeah. So listen, it's been fantastic that, you know, obviously you've come on. I mean, you said that you were you know, really quite shy and couldn't talk to people in the street when you were younger and things like that. But obviously, I think you've done. I've heard you speak, and you're a powerful speaker from a platform, but you're a more powerful person getting alongside people and just, you know, practically doing that as well. You know, so living the life and so on. So, you know, certainly, you know, honestly, I don't just say this lightly. You're a guy I admire, and you know, again, there's, you know, bless you for all of the work that you do that people see and people don't see. You know, again, it's much more behind the scenes kind of stuff and so on. But just to see, you know, because I like to, well, we all like people watching, don't we? Otherwise, why is reality TV so, you know, comment on, you know, or whatever? Not that I watch that kind of rubbish, but, you know, the kids do. But you know, I see the relationship that you have with those in Stockton Connect, and how you relate to them and so on, and how they respond to you as well. So it's great to see Jesus working, you know, through you, and you representing Jesus' love practically alongside them. So, you know, good on you, mate, and, you know, keep going. And, you know, like you say, and please, I'm going to put the contact details on again, just for everybody. Listen, get in touch with Junction 42. You know, yes, absolutely, we can all pray. But you may feel like, you know, like John mentioned as well, you know, because a lot of these organisations don't just happen. They need support, either or for individuals, like you say, given to their salary and helping with that, or as the organisation, you know, it's, you know, we're living in a world where actually, you know, those pots of money that you're going after, and like you said earlier, are drying up, and often come with lots of limitations about what you can do with them. You can't mention God or faith or anything like that. But, you know, again, we can give and give generously to organisations like Junction 42. So please support them. Please support the Moses Project and others as well. You know, obviously, there's just so many in there. But, you know, again, Junction 42, get in touch with them, find out more about, you know, what they're up to. You know, like them on their social channels, and we'll, you know, obviously just then be able to keep yourself up to date like normal people do, unlike you, John. So it is 9 o'clock. We're gonna end in a moment. So just how's it been? Have you enjoyed it? Has it been all right?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Dave.
Nice, I just want to do one more thing actually before we go, because we did say we might come back to this one. We would like to know about Fat Man, wherever that is. Obviously, that Richie, your brother-in-law, is asking about. So before we sign off,
Richie's causing trouble. Fat Man was a figment of my imagination, which I've done with all my nephews and my kids. So you just get a massive onesie, and you get as many cushions and stuff as you can, and then you put on a Kazakhstani accent.
Yeah,
and call yourself Fat Man. So Fat Man, he really I think he won gold in the Olympics in '96 wrestling. I've created a character over many years, and you just beat the living daylights out of the kids, and they love it.
Okay. So next time, what we need is footage of Fat Man in action, and you know, those kind of things. Or even better, what I'd like to see is you and Richie both donning Fat Man outfits and getting yourself, you know, do that. And then video that and put that on YouTube, because that will be a viral sensation. I'm telling you now. Okay, certainly I would love to highlight that in a future episode of Embrace Live. It would be, you know, prolific, you know, and you know, amazing. All right. So listen, mate, it's been great. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you giving up, you know, obviously your time, and we're really impressed by the amount of books that your wife has, and we look forward to seeing more of your colouring.
I only read one book, Dave. Just the one.
Oh yeah, okay. And you're going to be really spiritual and holy and say it's the.
Well, yeah, I would say the Bible. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you would do. Well done. Okay, good on you. Of course. Okay. All right. I still think you'd look about 12 if you shaved your beard off, but we'd like to see pictures. Thanks, if you do that. Then here we go. All right. So let me, you know, if you stay on stay on, and I'll talk to you afterwards. But just let me kind of wrap things up, John, and when we can kind of maybe chat a few little times afterwards. All right. So let me just say, everyone, you know, it's been great. Another Embrace episode, which is superb. I will get this uploaded to YouTube. Obviously, it's going out live on Facebook. But please, again, set your reminders every Wednesday, 8 till 9, thereabouts. And I've got guests, like I say, right the way up to the end of July, and I'm working into August. And it'll be great for you to join in live if you can, to, you know, fully experience, you know, obviously interacting with the guests and stuff like that, which is great. And again, thanks to John for doing, you know, obviously giving up his time tonight. It's been brilliant, and hearing about the work of Junction 42 as well. Support them. And then, you know, if you can't make it live, then please do, you know, kind of catch up when you can. And it'd be really helpful, like I said, if you don't mind, please heading over to our YouTube channel just to, you know, subscribe and usual kind of like the video and hit the, you know, notifications bell and things like that, so we can, you know, head to that 100 subscribers so we can have the Embrace Church Darlington address like we would like it to be. If you would like to know more about Embrace Church Darlington and what we do, and, you know, we meet in Darlington obviously on every Sunday and other things as well, then you, of course, please feel free to kind of head over to our website and find out more information, or you can like the page, and we often post our social channels as well. Follow us on Insta and things like that as well if you want to. It's been really, really good just to kind of chat with John, and thank you again for tuning in. Same time next week, okay, 8 o'clock. Embrace Live. Thanks very much. Take care, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.